Hello everybody and welcome to this NFL mock draft. I am recording on the 2nd of January, a day after those insane bowl games we got for the college football playoffs. We got to see Bo Nix on a farewell game for the Ducks. A lot has changed with the draft order since last week. A lot of fun things have changed for me personally, and it definitely translates in this mock draft. It's a lot different from any I've ever done before, and we're going to be playing some hypothetical games and predicting what teams are going to be doing through both the offseason, free agency wise, and then obviously draft wise for this mock draft here. Now for the first pick of this hypothetical draft, we're going Marvin Harrison Jr. Hypotheticals is what we're playing here. We're going to say that Justin Fields has impressed Ryan Poles, who is actually expected to stay there. And now that seeing the news that Matt Eberflus is even projected to stay there, reports coming out saying Eberflus is staying, I'm going to assume Justin Fields is sticking with that along with the management. Now Fields has not been the best player by far. You can definitely go with Caleb Williams here. I see it that way. I think that that's the way you should go. Like I said, we're just playing a little bit of a different game here today with this mock draft, going Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1 overall. Never done it. Definitely a trade down spot. If you're going to take, or if you're not going to take Caleb Williams and just stick with Justin Fields, or if you feel like you would like Fields and those draft picks or whatever you get for this number 1 overall draft pick, other than just sticking and picking with Caleb Williams, if you want to do whatever you can, you have the full flexibility. That's part of the number 1 overall pick, but I'm not doing any trades in this mock draft here, so we're going to stick and pick and actually go with Marvin Harrison Jr., which is a lot different than anything I've ever done. And once again, we're doing no trades, so Caleb Williams actually falls off the board here to the Washington Commanders. No one jumps above them to take the consensus number 1 quarterback, or at least one of the top 2 in Drake May and Caleb Williams. That is 1A and 1B for some people. Marvin Harrison Jr. at the number 1 pick for the Bears, kind of just not wasting a spot, but a spot ahead, giving the Commanders a great opportunity with Caleb Williams at the number 2 spot. No one changes a football team more than Caleb Williams in this draft, in my opinion. This team is basically scrapped clean, and you're going to want Caleb Williams and a brilliant offensive mind at maybe head coach or at offensive coordinator, obviously. Now, he's going to have to change everything because, one, he is not an in-structure quarterback. He's at his best out of structure, improvising, making huge plays in either which way. He had a very dynamic offense over at USC, and you could look to replicate that in the NFL as, you know, as much as you can. Try to maximize the talent of Caleb Williams. Put him alongside, like I said, a good mind with the offensive scheme. He's going to be, you know, changing offensive schemes around the league, I'm sure, as we watch him in his rookie year. He's probably going to be doing a lot of stuff that we haven't seen or don't really see around the NFL as much, and Caleb Williams might just be a game changer. Who knows? He might, you know, bust. We don't know with quarterbacks, but Caleb Williams is a pick for me at number 2. Leaving Drake May at number 3 for the New England Patriots. Now, if you want a guy that is just a good quarterback, can fit it through tight windows, strong arm, even has athleticism along with his impressive arm talent and what he's already shown at the college level in terms of accuracy and quarterback play, Drake May as a processor is probably a little bit better than Caleb Williams. Had a worse O-line, meaning he had less time to throw. Drake May is not the full package, but he gets as close as it is in this draft to a full package at quarterback. Malik Neighbors off the board at number 4 to the Cardinals. We've seen the Marvin Harrison Jr. You are an Arizona Cardinal. We've seen that, right? But in this situation, he goes number 1 overall. Malik Neighbors is still left here at number 4. Malik Neighbors would be the wide receiver 1 in multiple classes. If it weren't for Marvin Harrison Jr., he would be number 1 in this class for a lot of people. Electric player, fun player, catches the ball really well. Had some moments of just pure athleticism and just showing off what he can do after and before the catch at LSU. He's such a playmaker and an electric player to watch. Now we're getting crazy with Olu Fashanu at number 5. I know some of you guys might not like this, those Evan Neal believers. It's 2 left tackles, right? Olu's a left tackle, and so is Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas has turned into a great tackle in this league. Maybe he moves to right side. Maybe you want to sculpt Olu as a right tackle. You need to do something for maybe the quarterback and Daniel Jones. Maybe you pick someone up in free agency, and obviously you're not drafting one here at 5. Me personally, everyone likes Jaden Daniels. I'm not on the Daniels train. I love the guy. He looks like a great player. He's just too inconsistent when you really break down the tape. A lot of people like to look at the Jaden Daniels highlights, the top plays Jaden Daniels have made, and you say, wow, this guy's quarterback 1 in this class. How has he fallen to number 5? I truly believe there's too many inconsistencies, and I hope NFL teams will get there. Sure, he's got the intangibles, the athleticism, size, arm talent, experience at the college level, but at what point do you say we got to improve something else that might be a little bit better? And we've seen what Brian Dable can do. Joe Shane might just want to stick with Daniels in that contract instead of just moving on so quickly from it. Seeing some injuries for Daniel Jones, maybe gets back in the groove of it and plays like he did last year. Olu Fashanu would only help and elevate the play of Daniel Jones, no doubt. Olu Fashanu, a great pass protector who moves really, really well for his size, that has only improved in the run game. Brock Bowers and Justin Herbert can be a very dynamic duo. We've seen some with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, that sort of connection, and even Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert have a tight one. Keenan Allen is obviously getting a little older. He might not be able to play much longer at the level he is playing. He has played so good this season, and that's something to remember as well as you're moving towards the off season, is his age and how much longer will he really be a viable option or a number 1 sort of option. So you're going to bring in Brock Bowers to not only improve the blocking for whoever is at running back. A lot can change with this team between Eckler leaving, acquiring one in free agency, sticking with one of the guys you got. Maybe you believe in Isaiah Spiller or Kelly. Either of the two, they don't look bad, but you definitely like a higher or better running back than them. Brock Bowers would only escalate that offense, that team, the blocking, the receiving, and Justin Herbert's the big one in that. He just got locked up on a huge contract, and now Brock Bowers would come in and be a little less expensive for the next 5 years, assuming you take that 5th-year option, and Brock Bowers would just be so good for the Chargers here. I don't see a reason you go many other ways. Now the Titans are ecstatic with how this has fallen. We're going Joe Alt, most obvious pick of all time. Just need a tackle. Joe Alt is arguably just as good, if not better, than Olu Fashanu for some people. I think I'd just rather have Olu Fashanu up there at tackle 1 for me. I haven't watched tackle this year, but Joe Alt definitely profiles really well. Number 8, I'm going Rome Odunze for the New York Jets. Now this one I actually had a very hard time picking for because Jerzon Newton's here. As crazy as that sounds, Jerzon Newton to be a top 10 pick is a bit high because he is a little bit on the smaller side for an interior defensive lineman. Doesn't matter. Jerzon Newton is a problem maker through the interior of that defensive line. It really got me thinking. You have guys like Solomon Thomas is actually like your defensive tackle 1, and that would be a huge upgrade. And if you want to really play the defensive ball that Robert Saleh has built over there with the Jets culture, if you will, right now, it's all defense, and you can only improve that. But when you want Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl for you, you're going to give him weapons, and they already have nice pieces like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, who have sadly been wasted this year. Rome Odunze would come in and only be a much more dynamic option than, or give them a much more dynamic offense, giving them another option to fit into that offense, where Rome Odunze, not only a jump ball guy, but a finesse and the late hands, the tracking, everything suits really well with Rome Odunze, actually similar to Garrett Wilson. And that's why I think they complement each other just fine. Obviously you want someone maybe opposite, a different skill set of Garrett Wilson, but since they are so similar down the field, Rome Odunze to me, and around the line of scrimmage, actually, I just like the fit. I like the partners with Rome Odunze and Garrett Wilson for sure. Jaden Daniels has fallen too far, and he will be picked here at number 9, quarterback 3 off the board. Even with Penix's incredible performance last night or yesterday, it was still Jaden Daniels, and obviously you like Penix. I love Bo Nix, but Penix in 4 season-ending injuries over at Indiana, has 2 clean years at Washington. Knock on wood, because it's not over yet. So Michael Penix might look to fit himself into the top 20 or even 15 of this draft after all said and done. College football playoffs aside, he wasn't even being talked about maybe as a first-round pick. I would consistently have him in the first round. He is just too good, and you can excuse the injuries. Bo Nix Nix, same deal. He's the most experienced college quarterback of all time, most experienced college player of all time. Bo Nix has really shown improvement over at Oregon and set some nice records over time, and obviously expected with that much time in the NCAA or FBS or whatever you want to talk about. Getting off subject here, Jaden Daniels was the pick for the Falcons, and for me, that is a great fit. You just make such a, I hate to use this word again, but dynamic, very dynamic offense with Bijan, with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts. All those guys are vertical, like, go for it guys. Jaden Daniels only adds to that element. Jaden Daniels would come in, read options would be hella dangerous, and Jaden Daniels on design QB runs with big bodies like Drake London deep down the field blocking for him, or you can scheme different things up left and right, and Arthur Smith might not be the head coach for this team, but everything points to maybe probably being the guy there next year. And I don't know what he has in mind or in store for us, and it could be good and or bad. Expect the worst, hope for the best. Dallas Turner, the pick for me at the Bears. You picked Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1. You have the number 10 overall pick right now as it stands. Dallas Turner would come in and just be a sensational edge rusher for you. Nice power, nice speed, nice smooth ability, nice hand movement and coordination for him off the edge. Dallas Turner is a very nice player, and I haven't really dove deep into the edge class as well. I haven't done defense like in general and or the trench like offensive line and defensive line positions as much as I have with the skill players in this class, and I'm still working on completing running backs right now. But Dallas Turner is a pick for me at number 10. If you want to learn more about him, go look around. You'll like what you see with Dallas Turner. Now, I mentioned how much I love this guy. It's Bo Nix falling off the board at number 11 to the Raiders. Bo Nix is such a fun, great player that plays so well in that Oregon offense that can stretch the field at any time, honestly, with how much that Oregon offense keeps it kind of toned down around the line of scrimmage, a lot of quick stuff, a lot of short stuff. Bo Nix, when he does, few and far between, throws it down the field. It's very accurate, on time, ball placements there. Bo Nix, to me, is a very good quarterback and only going 2 picks after Jaden Daniels in this situation, just because of how much I like the player. I'm willing to vouch for him, say, he's going higher. I think that everyone has their guys, and a lot of people want to say, hey, you can take whatever, and sometimes it's not realistic, or whatever you want to say. But Bo Nix for me here is realistic. It's in the range. Despite me loving the player, I think that I don't see why NFL scouts or teams wouldn't take a chance on Bo Nix inside the top 15 or so. Nate Wiggins is the pick here. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Kirk Cousins is the slate, and he might not even make the start of next season. Sure, that's a bummer and all. And yeah, Michael Penix is on the board. Yeah, JJ McCarthy is on the board. McCarthy kind of not as high as I thought after watching the college football playoffs. I know it's just one game, but I don't know. We'll have to see how he kind of closes it out. Obviously, Michigan making the championship game against Washington. That'll be a fun little brawl there at the top. Anyways, Nate Wiggins, great corner, lengthy, and what stands out when you watch the Vikings is the cornerback play. I'm a Packers fan. I watched them this last week. And excuse me. And holy crap, they sucked. You see, I just got choked up talking about it because he made Caleb Evans, Mekhi Blackman, who's not really a very every down outside boundary type player. Andrew Booth has not, another Clemson corner has not panned out for you the way you'd like. So Nate Wiggins would then come in and solve a lot of your problems, or you'd hope he does. And Kirk Cousins, once again, the quarterback there for the foreseeable future. I don't think he's on a 1-year deal. I think it'd be a 2 or 3 if he does return. If he doesn't, then yes, this is a very quarterback friendly spot. But with these season-ending injuries I've brought up with Michael Penix, it's very hard to take him as high as this or even in the first round. He's such a good quarterback. Yes, his floor may be the most pro-ready in this class other than the top 2. Yes, Michael Penix checks a lot of boxes, but he also has some completely unchecked. The injury concerns is huge in the NFL. How many times have we seen guys fall in the draft from injury? It's a constant thing. It happens every year. A lot of prospects every year fall, even out of the draft, due to some injuries. Like Justin Ross is a good explanation, or a good example. Damone Clark is a good example. Guys that just have very bad injuries or bad injury history in general, they just get pushed back, and it's not a lot, or it's a lot of the same with Michael Penix. We're here at the Saints pick, and I don't know, at the to finish off the Vikings recap, the Vikings pick recap here with Nate Wiggins. It's very solid, and I like the pick. I'm going to stick to the board and what I have for now. And this is once again playing a hypothetical game, saying Kirk Cousins doesn't come back to the Vikings, or does come back to the Vikings. God, my mind's exploding right now. So Talise Fuaga at number 13 might surprise some of you guys. It doesn't surprise me at all. Ramchick is having a career-threatening issue right now with, I believe it's his knee cartilage or infection, cartilage infection, maybe in his knee, maybe somewhere else. I can't remember the exact details, but Talise Fuaga would come in and start at right tackle for you, help and pave the way for Alvin Kamara while he still continues to develop as a pass blocker. Also, Ramchick, if he were to come back, shift over to left tackle. The veteran would come in and be, I think he's 29 or 30, or obviously by the time he's back next year, probably more around that 30 mark, and he'd still be a very solid tackle if you're looking to win now. Another quarterback spot, you could take Penix or JJ McCarthy or even Quinn Ewers if you'd like. I think he's going back to school. Talise Fuaga is the pick here. I don't like JJ McCarthy as much as others do right now. Opinions can change, thoughts can change, and Michael Penix Jr., once again, that injury history really comes up as a red flag, and we're here at number 14, where you might want quarterback. Jerzon Newton here is the pick. I know I just kind of teed it up like it was going to be a quarterback, but if it was going to be Michael Penix. I really strongly think about it here for every single team actually around this range, for the Raiders, Vikings, Saints, Broncos, and Seahawks, especially now knowing what we know about Russell Wilson. We have a Derek Carr contract, but we have a problem with the injuries. I seriously have a problem. I really think that despite the great quarterback play we've seen from Michael Penix the last 2 years, you hate injury history, and I'm doing a predictive sort of thing here with this mock draft, and it doesn't project well for Michael Penix Jr., and I'm really sticking to this. I personally would be willing to take him as high as number 9, as high as even number 7. Michael Penix looks really good, and I'm sure NFL teams have great grades on him. The injury history holds NFL prospects down so much, it's unbelievable. Therefore, he's excluded from these picks, or most of these picks. It's inexcusable when you have such bad injury history. I didn't even hit on Jerzon Newton. He's a good, powerful interior defensive lineman. We already talked about him kind of with the Jets pick, so if you guys just skip to the Broncos pick to see what I did, Jerzon Newton is a good player. Go listen to what I had to say about him at Jets, because this is just going to be a little short sum of Jerzon Newton. Smaller than you'd like. He could still add that weight. Very powerful, quick, instinctive player on the inside that plays a run and pass both really well. Moving on to number 15 with the Seattle Seahawks. What do we got? Laiatu Latu, who's fallen to probably consensus edge number 2 to Dallas Turner. But it doesn't matter to me. Laiatu Latu, probably the best hand usage in this whole draft when it comes to pass rush moves, finesse, hand-eye coordination, swatting, everything. Laiatu Latu has a bundle of incredible moves to get to the quarterback. He's a tier 1 pass rusher. Injury history again with Laiatu Latu. He was medically retired at the University of Washington, I believe, then headed over to UCLA, where he picked up so well and made himself a top 15 pick, or a top, even 7 player on people's boards. But once again, that injury history is going to push him down. It happened a long time ago, and Laiatu Latu is going to be the pick here at 15. And you'd really hate to miss if you are the Seahawks, and I understand you have a good edge rush, in general right now. But Laiatu Latu can only add to that. He can even slide inside, not to defensive tackle, but to maybe play 3 tech here and there with more athletic guys on the outside. Laiatu Latu is a dynamic, I'm going to use that word again, player that can do a lot for this team in the Seattle Seahawks. Moving on to number 16. Some people might hate this. J.C. Latham is the pick for me. The right tackle out of Alabama is going to just get picked here. All right, that's kind of the sum of this pick. Jonah Williams looks to probably leave. Not really the best player. You want to protect Joe Burrow. Had some injury trouble through his career already in the NFL, and you'd hate to see that continue. And J.C. Latham's a step in the right direction on that offensive line. You could go multiple different areas here. I could see this being even a trade down spot if someone's looking for the quarterback in Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy. This is a definite trade down spot, but for me, it's JC Latham, the right tackle out of Alabama, to the Bengals for just taking or at least trying to take a solid tackle in JC Latham. Another hit or miss position in the NFL, but he's got a pretty good PFF grade. Not saying that that's everything. Jared Verse at number 17 to the Arizona Cardinals. You just need something on that D-line, something to do something somewhere for someone. All right, Jared Verse needs to just be a guy. All right, you have BJ Ojulari, put him on the other side of Jared Verse. Boom, there's your edge duo of the future. Now you look to build interior, blitzing linebacker, everything. You need everything if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and Jared Verse only comes in and helps that. Your early pick was, who was it? They got Malik Neighbors, that's right. And then you also have this Texans pick from the trade up last year from the Texans to get Will Anderson. So Jared Verse ends up being the pick at number 17. And another maybe quarterback spot with controversy in Pittsburgh between Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett saying he doesn't even want to come in to back up Mason Rudolph. It's been brutal over in Pittsburgh. And, despite that, Mike Tomlin extended his streak. He is going, 17? I can't even remember how many seasons it is, going above 500. It's crazy. But when you see a Kool-Aid McKinstry on the board for you at number 18, and corner has been such a problem, or secondary in general has been such a problem, Kool-Aid McKinstry has to be the pick here. Kenny Pickett, long-term solution if you don't ride the Rudolph hot hand right now. He ends up sucking again. Whatever it tends to be with that quarterback, or that quarterback situation, I'm sure it'll resolve itself. I'm sure you will still stick with Kenny Pickett, your first round pick, and hopefully he's better once you bring in that new offensive coordinator. But the offensive scheme they have right now with the interim offensive coordinator, Mason Rudolph seems to be clicking with that a little bit better, pushing the ball downfield, getting it to playmakers and letting them work. And Kenny Pickett was a little bit more cautious, reserved, and not saying you hate that. I'm just saying that right now Rudolph is a hot hand, and Kenny Pickett's probably your still long-term solution, or at least you want him to be that long-term solution in Pittsburgh. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, such a sure-handed corner. That looks to be corner one even in this class. If it isn't for Nate Wiggins and his upside, I think that Kool-Aid McKinstry just is still going to be a solid player at the next level. And we'll move on to number 19 with the Packers, and my favorite team. Packers, watch them and you just realize that their secondary isn't as bad. So we're going Cooper DeJean here at number 19. Their secondary, it's been so mix and match. Obviously, we had Corey Ballentine and Carrington Valentine, our starting two corners this last week against the Vikings. Can't have that, although Corey Ballentine did play really well. I think people are overselling it, though. Double team every play on Justin Jefferson with a linebacker paying attention to Justin Jefferson underneath every play, with a safety over top on every play with man-to-man on DB or focus from a corner every play. Justin Jefferson, we just play the right people on him, and Corey Ballentine did make a few plays, which he played really well. Not saying totally to discredit him, but Carrington Valentine can be a boundary guy. He could play inside from what I'm getting. Cooper DeJean, same thing, except he can even slide back to safety. He could play boundary, nickel, safety. Hell, he could probably even come down and play linebacker for you. Cooper DeJean is such a good, dynamic, fun, different player from a lot of people you see in this class. Kind of sets himself apart as a versatile defensive back that can play everywhere, and that's just what the Packers need with injuries right now. Eric Stokes can't stay healthy. Jair Alexander can't stay healthy when he's not suspended for messing around during the coin toss. I don't even know what that controversy is about. Just saw you got suspended for a coin toss incident. So Cooper DeJean would come in, and Packers fans might not be thrilled. I am personally. If we're getting Cooper DeJean in a draft, I'm more than happy with Cooper DeJean. All right, I don't see the miscue here. I just love Cooper DeJean, and taking him at number 19 feels like very fair value for a very different, and using the word again, dynamic, versatile player. 20, we're going Brian Thomas Jr., a player I'm super high on. I love the tape on. Brian Thomas Jr. could definitely rise up draft boards as time goes on. Watch out for it. Brian Thomas can fly. He can also fly up draft boards, like I mentioned, and such a good player. And his tape was honestly very enjoyable to watch, but also very frustrating. He was open so much, either right when Jane Daniels released or while he's looking and staring down Malik Neighbors. Brian Thomas is just wide open open, and it killed me not watching Brian Thomas get the targets that he could have had, or the year he could have had, if he was a more focal point of that offense, if he didn't have such a player like Malik Nabers on the other side of him. Although that did benefit him a lot, having a player like Malik Nabers on the other side of him. And you get the same thing here. If Mike Evans returns, you have a Mike Evans on the other side of Brian Thomas. If Mike Evans leaves, he still has a Chris Godwin on the other side of him. He's used to being the second option that constantly can get open. Now at the NFL level, obviously the level rises, and Brian Thomas can both stretch the field and play underneath, be dynamic. He's a great run blocker. He's a put together receiver, the full package that has some intangibles like size and speed that you covet at the wide receiver position. If you're a Bucs fan walking away with Brian Thomas at the end of this thing, I think you are so happy with Baker Mayfield, Brian Thomas, Chris Godwin, and if Mike Evans remains there, I think that this also remains the pick. Are you kidding me? That would be such a fun team to watch. And I've seen the whole thing on Braylon Trice, who's the pick here, where man, his ceiling just isn't there. I think his floor is pretty high, but I don't see him in the first round. I totally see him in the first round. Braylon Trice is amazing. I just watched his last playoff game where I think 3 sacks, maybe 3.5, 4 run up. Braylon Trice has pressures galore, great technique, great power, great effort. This man is like Max Crosby relentlessness during a play, maybe not all the time. I'm sure he takes a little bit more plays off than Max Crosby ultimately ends up after, Gaby's playing 98% of the snaps throughout the season. Braylon Trice probably a little lower than that, but relentless effort throughout the play. Braylon Trice plays with some serious strength at 275. He moves really well for 275. He's so I just don't see where the Braylon Trice ceiling isn't as high. I think he could be a constant 3-down rusher, 10 sacks a year, maybe like 8, maybe 5. That production wasn't really there this last year in college, only 6 sacks, but we just saw 3 in a college football playoff. I'm going Graham Barton here for the Jags. You're like, what the hell are you doing taking a tackle? Graham Barton probably would slide into center for this team with both Cleveland, Ezra Cleveland, that is, and then they have, I think it's their right guard shirt up. Left and right tackle continues to not only be, it's Brian Scherf, Cleveland, and then they have the Oklahoma Anton Harrison tackle. And then I don't know who they have on the, I think it's left side. Excuse me for not knowing everything about everyone. But Graham Barton, basically, if he slides in at center, this offensive line, it's not untouchable, but it's very good. It gets much better. Graham Barton slides inside in general to both guard or center. Wherever he plays, if it's on the interior of this team, it helps the team. And that's what you're really looking for in the first rounders for these sure hits. If you're a contender or team like the Jags, you don't want Trevor Lawrence limping off or the field or, not really getting the cart attention he needed. So that whole argument aside, you're making the offensive line better and you win with trenches in today's football league. It's just what's happening, or in today's NFL, in today's way of play in the NFL. Graham Barton would tremendously, in my opinion, raise the floor of this Jags offense and offensive line. Everything apart, I think that people really exclude the effort or the impact of a good interior defensive lineman. Now he's playing tackle at Duke, but he definitely profiles to be better at guard, if not center. Maybe another quarterback position here, but I'm going Terrion Arnold for them at 23. I mentioned quarterback, and we'll get into that, but Terrion Arnold would come in so you don't have Kobe Durant playing boundary corner for you and just a bunch of, not no-namers, and they've actually played surprisingly well this year. I don't know how, corner's so on-off every year. Terrion Arnold would come in and not sure up a spot exactly. He's an aggressive player that sometimes bites early. There's separation down the field against him, but Terrion Arnold could develop into being one of the better corners in this class with just the effort and fun electricity he plays with. Terrion Arnold is a fun player for sure, but just mentioned quarterback Michael Penix remains on the board after I'm saying I'd take him inside the top 15. I mean, Stafford's playing so well. I don't see him retiring. I see them sticking with Stafford as long as they can. And then you obviously, as a contender, again, I mean, obviously they're fighting their ways into the fighting their way into the playoffs. They caught fire at the right time. They're the team you don't want to play in the NFC playoffs here. So Terrion Arnold instantly raises this team instead of getting a backup developmental quarterback like Michael Penix to sit a year behind Matt Stafford. Now, if Matt Stafford comes out and says, hey, I'm retiring, now you're definitely thinking about Michael Penix here, and that could definitely be the pick here at 23. And Quinn Ewers has been talked about as a second round pick to the Rams or somewhere where he'd have to sit for a year. I can also see something like that for sure. Beck, Sanders, and Ewers are all pretty much expected at this point to go back to school. Ewers is probably the biggest question mark out of Beck, Sitter, Sanders, Quinn Ewers. Pratt might be coming out. Rattler, whatever. Milrow, he's not coming out. He's probably going back to school like 100%. Jay Trav, unfortunately, broke like his whole leg, everything in his leg. And to me, he looks like a great football prospect and possibly a top 4 like round pick quarterback, and Jordan Travis could have eventually become what like Sam Howell is, just way better and polished. Jordan Travis was super fun and one of my favorites, and unfortunately not the case anymore with the leg. Obviously I still love him. I just don't think he'll be as drafted as high or as big of a story as one may think. Now, 24 with the Bills. Rambled on a little bit here for the Rams pick, but we're moving on to the Bills now. Now, this might be crazy, but Leonard Taylor is the pick at 24 for me. They constantly need help inside. They have momentary flashes on the inside of their defensive line. It's not a whole lot of consistent great play, and Leonard Taylor has consistently been great for Miami. Now, will he be a first round pick? I don't know. It's just a need. Okay, I'm going to stick away from dynamic player here, but it's a need. It's a strong player. It's a high upside type of player in Leonard Taylor, who I'm not going to say he's played out of his mind or deserves to be a first round pick, but Leonard Taylor for me is the pick over any receiver left at the spot. I know Tez Walker's here, which is tempting, Troy Franklin, but Khalil Shakir has played well. Dalton Kincaid even comes out, and I'm sure he'll play slot and have a lot schemed up for him as a receiver next year. Well, Dawson Knox plays that more in line traditional tight end role. You have some fun and versatility on that Buffalo team already, and you can always take your shots in second and third round with receivers and just shore up a in-demand. I mean, obviously, the deeper in this class that you look, the more you're going to like defensive line, but the top 2 guys is definitely Taylor and Drazan, and they're kind of on separate tiers. And then it kind of goes down to guys like Byron Murphy, then Tavondre Sweat. You can look at guys like Dorless, but I don't think that he's really as big a name as many people think. I don't know. There's definitely some fun you can have with Leonard Taylor, and then look deeper down the board for your next receiver or whatever. If you're looking to split time with Khalil Shakir, get a different type of player, you can find that later in the draft while you're shoring up a need with Leonard Taylor in the first round. Now it's Tez Walker for me. Okay, look at this. This guy is like, I think 6'4", 200 pounds, lanky, fun, great catch radius, and all around, he's very polished as a movement guy. Honestly, he can run those inside routes. He's not as great on those quick little outside routes. He can run downfield. He can run like the wind, get behind defenses, make contested catches. He really doesn't care about contact. When he's going up, the only thing he's focused on is the ball. He doesn't care if a safety comes in and breaks his back, really. Very fun tape to watch. I think the 3 games I watched of him was very telling towards the type of player Devontae Walker is, and I think Chiefs fans would be ecstatic as the year goes on, much like Rashee Rice has showed this season. But look at the size. Okay, 6'2", really? He's listed as 6'4". Sorry, he might actually end up being 6'2", 6'3", whatever. He looks tall. He's huge, and at 200 pounds, good size overall. Sorry, I oversold him there on the size. I thought he was like 6'4", 6'3", and teams like to elevate that height and measurements to help the players out early in the process until they show up to the combine and measure in 2 inches smaller than you'd thought. Eagles fans are going to hate me, and Marius Mims is the pick, the right tackle out of Georgia. We constantly see it, right? This is not just a me thing. I think the Eagles are going to take trenches. Lane Johnson has already talked about how hard it is to play at this age, the problems he's had. I could see retirement out of him. Amarius Mims would slide in at right tackle, and if there is any injury, maybe he even slips into inside if you want. Amarius Mims, probably not that type of guy where he could play all 5 positions or play guard, tackle, whatever. He doesn't have that guard tackle versatility, but if you want to have him have time on the field, or if you want to try to develop him early, if a spot opens up due to injury, Sua Opeta, or whatever his name is, Opeta, has played on that team this year a lot because of injury, and Amarius Mims might look to be that next guy that you want to develop. He's a very moldable piece of clay. He's massive. I think he's listed maybe at 6'7". Yeah, 6'7", 340. I just call him a massive mold of clay every time I bring his name up. Amarius Mims is someone the Eagles I could see sculpting while you wait on a receiver, because it's a deeper class where you maybe lack positions and there's no first round linebackers this year. There's no Jack Campbell. Maybe you want to take a shot in the second on linebacker and then wait on receiver, because it is a very deep receiver class that you could find talent way down there. Johnny Wilson, Roman Wilson, J. Michael. I like Torrey Horton a lot, actually. Malachi Corley, if he shows off well at the Senior Bowl, we could see his name a lot higher than it is right now. A lot of options. And for the Eagles at 26, I just went with Amarius Mims. Sue me. Quinyon Mitchell for me at 27 to the Lions. Now, a lot to talk about with their last matchup against the Cowgirls, but honestly, I think that the thing that stood out to me more, other than the penalties, was the quarterback play, and that's why we add Quinyon Mitchell to this cornerback squad, or the cornerbacks on this team, is Quinyon Mitchell would come up and not sure up. Once again, a lot of these are developmental guys this late. I mean, honestly, you can even go back to Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's not developmental, but he's solid with a lower ceiling maybe than Nate Wiggins, who we took at number 12. You can go around and profile. A lot of these guys are a lot different. Terrion Arnold is a hit or miss prospect with more hit more likely to hit than miss. Same thing with Quinyon Mitchell. You just don't know because he played at Toledo. Production's through the roof. Grades are through the roof. Quinyon Mitchell has good size, speed, everything. Quinyon Mitchell looks to be a first-round corner to me, at least. If he comes into the combine and runs like a 4.55 or lower, he might be in some trouble for first round because of the competition he played at Toledo, but has constantly graded out really well and has put up insane production when it comes to like passes defended. He's always there. He's a guy, all right, someone to look at as the draft goes on, especially during the combine, if he plays or if he participates in the combine. And just a need for this team, and a high ceiling player like Quinyon Mitchell at 27, kind of a wild card as well. Now we'll move to 28 with the Texans pick. Chop Robinson. Now, Texans fans, don't be mad, because obviously there are some heavier needs elsewhere, but Chop Robinson to come in under D'Amico Ryans, we saw what he did with Will Anderson. He has, all right, they drafted CJ Stroud, and then they said, F it, we're going to trade all the way back up and get Will Anderson, and he's been a great player for them. And Chop Robinson just needs a little bit of that molding from D'Amico Ryans, or from a coach like D'Amico Ryans and that staff. We've seen Jonathan Grenard take a huge step up this year, and that's why you're like, well, why do we really need an edge? Chop is not your traditional guy. This guy's freaky athletic, insane bend and twitch, or maybe there isn't that same bend. I can't remember what it was with him. I just know that there's insane athleticism and twitch, and Chop Robinson is a very, very fun player. If all pans out, he could be a top 2 or 3 edge player in this class. He's, once again, very twitched up, very fun, very good to sit behind. All right, I guess very good for him to sit behind a guy like Jonathan Grenard, Will Anderson, while he learns and while he picks up on some of these things, and then maybe we start seeing increased play time. Then maybe Chop Robinson really develops, really starts taking steps up, really starts to be a focal point of a defense or someone you really look out for. People are going to hate me, but Troy Fountain, the pick for me at 29. They need offensive line. They shored up right tackle Austin Jackson. He's on a new deal, I think like 3 years or something like that. So they don't need that. But Fountain already plays left tackle. Teron Armstead faces a lot of injuries, and Troy Fountain could switch out there when he's not playing left guard for you, or center for you, or right guard for you. It doesn't matter. I think that Troy Fountain is so talented that it really doesn't matter if he's playing left tackle or left guard. Maybe profiles better inside at the next level. But if Teron Armstead, or worst case scenario, whatever comes upon this Dolphins team and offensive line, Troy Fautanu would be there with his talent and experience and just overall great talented football play to save the day for the Dolphins. I was, looking for another rhyme there. Nothing really came upon me. And it's Troy Fautanu at number 29. I have Troy Franklin on the mind for a reason. He's the Cowboys pick here at number 30. Very fast, very fun player. Another guy that can really open up an offense and someone you really already don't have with both length and athleticism. Yes, Michael Gallup, you could say, hey, but that guy is a go up and get it concentration, more works with a size sort of guy. Troy Franklin works with his athleticism and finesse as a runner. He is willing, although being like 6'2 or 6'3 and 180, he is willing to duck his shoulder and take a hit or give a hit to a DB. Troy Franklin, all around, just complements CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, kind of takes their two best, or two worst, whatever it is, kind of mixes the two and gives them a great third option in that receiving room. Plus, Brandon Cooks is getting a little older to this point. Kamari Lassiter is the pick for me, corner for the 49ers out of Georgia. I watch the 49ers every single week, and it just pops out how much they need corner. They had a good outing last week against the Commanders, which they do have a strong receiving core, but Sam Howell wasn't exactly amazing. I mean, sure, he was pretty good, and maybe you think to start him the last game of the season, that's all up in controversy, whatever. This Niners team has just constantly needed corner. Deommodore Lenoir can slide in, play inside, while Travarius Ward and Kamari Lassiter play outside. Whatever way you want to combine this corner room, maybe Ambry Thomas comes in, plays inside, whatever it is. Kamari Lassiter helps and does his best to just improve what is already tough or a weakness of this 49ers team. Now, with the last pick of this draft, it's Adonai Mitchell. I'm not going to select it yet because it shows the full draft and it does the whole process thing, but it's Adonai Mitchell, or AD Mitchell, out of Texas, the wide receiver. He's huge. He's like 6'4", 205 or so. 6'4", almost 200, so whatever. I'm off again. My bad. But Adonai Mitchell, just everything. Once again, I talked about it with Brian Thomas, has things that are just coveted at the wide receiver position, and that's all Adonai Mitchell is. He's got all the intangibles. His tracking's great. His hands are great. His timing's great. I wouldn't say necessarily with his jumping, but more with his hands. Adonai Mitchell just does a lot to help himself in terms of intangibles. And I think that a team like the Ravens, it really turns Rashad Bateman's size and Odell Beckham Jr.'s finesse, kind of takes the best of those and puts it in one player, Adonai Mitchell, who would then, look to be a very different receiver from who's already the receiver one in Zay Flowers. Adonai Mitchell is more that true X receiver, or who you're looking for to complement a guy like Zay Flowers, while you still have wild cards like OBJ at this point in his career. Rashad Bateman, who I already brought up, has good size, athleticism, all that, out of Minnesota. And also Nelson Aguilar, probably on just that 1-year deal or whatever it is for him, wherever he makes his living nowadays. He makes good plays, splash plays here and there, and that kind of wraps this draft up with Adonai Mitchell here, and that is kind of up for controversy for this pick and this team. So there you guys go. There's the full mock draft. In case you guys just skip to the end to see the whole mock draft, you guys can really see me break down and get involved with each and every team, look at the situation, the picks, all that. If you guys want to go back and really learn about your favorite team's pick here or whatever it was. But yeah, that'll be the mock draft. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, go ahead and leave a like, go down, subscribe, watching the past content on my channel. I guarantee you would like it, especially if you're watching till now or just even skip to this point. If you guys want to learn about these players, this channel is a good place to learn and or just have a good time looking at the draft, whatever it is. That'll be all. See you guys next time. Deuces.